Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Supreme Council for Planning orders to form a National Infrastructure Committee for Geographical Information and agrees to implement an electronic population census. The Tender Board awards projects and additional works for completion of development projects in numerous fields. And 37 Palestinians are killed by Israeli airstrikes, and resistance fighters respond by rocket fire at Israel's heartland. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of thanks from His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of State of Qatar, in reply to His Majesty's cable of greetings on the anniversary of assuming rule of the state. Forming a National Infrastructure Committee for Geographical Information to supervise growth projects plans for all government units was instructed by the Supreme Council for Planning at its third meeting of the year. The Council emphasized in this regard to unify the use of a civil number in all transactions and to implement a unified addressing operation for all governorates of the Sultanate. It also agreed to a proposal to implement an electronic population census works to integrate information among government units to reach to the most accurate statistics for individuals, housing and establishments. The meeting was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Ali bin Masood As-Sunaidi, Minister of Commerce and Industry and Deputy Chairman of the Supreme Council for Planning. The Tender Board awarded projects and additional works for completion of development projects in numerous fields worth more than 28.4 million Omani riyals. Among these projects, importing medicines for the Ministry of Health, asphalting road of Al-Qat-Beit Niaba Marsudat in the Governorate of Dhafar. The board also approved results of technical analysis of a number of tenders, among them a project of construction of an additional building for the Ministry of Civil Service, construction of sports complex in the Wilaya of Rostaq in the Governorate of South Batna, construction of sport complex in the Wilaya of Ibra in the Governorate of South Sharqiya, expansion of Sohar Industrial Estate, 7th stage, and implementation of basic infrastructure of Samail Industrial Area in the Governorate of Dakhliya. The meeting was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Rashid bin As-Safi Al-Khuraibi, Chairman of the Tender Board. State's general budget registered by the end of May a surplus amounted to 551 million Omani riyals, compared to a deficit at the same period of last year amounted to 71.6 million Omani riyals. Data report related to state's general budget recorded by end of May, issued by National Center for Statistics and Information, clarified that overall inputs recorded by growth 5% to reach to more than 6.4 billion Omani riyals. Overall general expenditure increased by 8% at the same period to reach a 5.1 billion Omani riyals compared to 4.6 billion registered by end of May of last year. The report mentioned that the main reason for the increase of general spending was attributed to increase of current expenditures by 12% and increase of investment in expenditures by 5.5%. The Public Authority for Small and Medium Enterprises Development launched Entrepreneurship Award to increase awareness in the field as well as to develop SME sector so as to support the national economy. The award was considered as motivation presented by Sheikh Al-Shamikhat seminar to encourage Omani youth on development work and private projects. It also encouraged on competition of best ideas for projects, especially those that keep up with modern communication techniques in addition to enhance competitive capabilities to SMEs. The award aimed to target Omani youth and bodies concerned towards development and innovation, as well as for the Omani youth to benefit from Raft Fund loans. Electricity holding companies signed a joint agreement with Bank Muscat and GB Morgan to provide financial consultancy and fund for electricity generation. transmission and distribution projects in the Sultanate at the cost of 800 million Omani riyals. Engineer Omar bin Khalfan Al-Wahabi, Chief Executive Officer of Electricity Holding Company, said that the funding came to meet the increasing demand for electricity of various governorates of the Sultanate. He added that the agreement also dealt with studying various ways of funding such as bonds, shares, direct fund from banks or any other method to provide the required amount on the long term. Still to come in our news bulletin. Japan expects the powerful typhoon Neoguri to make landfall in Kyushu, southwest Japan. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Israeli airstrikes shook Gaza every few minutes today, and fighters kept up rocket fire at Israel's heartland in intensifying warfare that Palestinian officials said has killed at least 37 people in the Hamas-dominated enclave. 230 people have been wounded. Missiles from Israel's Iron Dome defense system shot into the sky to intercept a rocket launched for the second straight day at Tel Aviv. Other communities near Tel Aviv in central Israel and in the south, closer to Gaza, were also targeted. In the longest range attack since yesterday, when Israel stepped up to its offensive, a rocket hit Zikron Yaakov, a town 115 kilometers north of Gaza, slightly injuring one person. China and the United States need to manage their differences. The leaders of both countries said today at the start of annual talks expected to focus on cybersecurity, maritime disputes, the Chinese currency and an investment treaty. The two-day talks in Beijing, called the Strategic and Economic Dialogue, will be an opportunity for the world's two biggest economies to dial down tensions after months of bickering over a host of issues. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Treasury Secretary Jack Lew chair the U.S. delegation, with Vice Premier Wang Yang and top diplomat Yang Jiechi leading the Chinese side. Japan's weather agency said today that it expects the powerful typhoon Neoguri to make landfall in Kyushu, southwestern Japan, and bring heavy rain on Thursday morning. A spokesman from the Japan Meteorological Agency said it forecast the typhoon to hit Kyushu on Thursday and warned of torrential rain. Kyushu's Fukuoka Prefecture issued warnings for strong winds, high tides and heavy rains, and advised people to stay indoors as much as possible. Heavy rainfall was expected to hit much of eastern Japan, setting off risks of lightning and tornadoes. Neoguri left topples, trees, flood cars and bank railings on its path, according to the Okinawa government, in what is said was the heaviest rainfall experienced there in half-century. The Okinawan government raised the injury toll to 28 from 17 the day before, 2 of them seriously. Here are the Ramadan times for tomorrow. Oh, 2 p.m. Fajr prayers will be at 4:01 a.m. and Maghrib prayers will be at 7:02 p.m. Now for the general weather forecast. Cloudy to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of the Far and nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear to partly cloudy skies with chances of scattered rain, occasionally thunderous, accompanied by gust wind and hails over parts of the Hajar Mountains during the afternoon. Winds will be southerly to southwesterly light to moderate to active along the coast of Arabian Sea, while it will be southwesterly light to moderate along the rest of the Sultanate. Seas along the coastal areas of Arabian Sea will be rough, with a maximum wave height of 4.5 meters, and along the rest of the Sultan's coast it will be moderate to rough with a maximum wave height of 2.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Supreme Council for Planning orders to form a National Infrastructure Committee for Geographical Information and agrees to implement an electronic population census. The Tender Board awards projects and additional works for completion of development projects in numerous fields. And 37 Palestinians are killed by Israel airstrikes, and resistance fighters respond by rocket fire at Israel's heartland. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studio and the newsroom, it's good night.